Yo, good evening, USA, International, Canada, Long Island, aka Strong Island, the tri state areas of New Jersey, Connecticut, plus the five spots of Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, and Queens. This is your man and homie, G Money Stacks, aka the Gregonator. Rhymes with now or later, like the candy. Your host with the most, misunderstood, lonely nomad, unstoppable independent podcaster, creator, YouTuber, and of course, Queens, New York native who is also a New York Giants, New York Knicks, and New York Mets fan. From the neck of the woods of Laurelton, Queens, New York. You are now rocking with me by listening, tuning in, and watching the 161st episode of the entertainment review show Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast. Man, oh man, I got some stuff to talk about here in this episode right here. We got some music news to talk about. We got some movies to go over. We got some gaming and stuff. And anything comes up that's like breaking or whatever, I'll touch on it when I get a chance. And I hope every single one of you enjoyed your 4th of July weekend. I know it was a lot of fun, and it was a lot to watch as far as like the music performances, as far as like the fireworks and stuff. I know I did, and I'm pretty sure there is too. Now, before I begin, let me address one thing. In case you're wondering what's going on in the background, that's my air conditioner, because it's been humid today and we're about to have another heat wave next week. So if you don't have any air conditioners in your homes and you want to find some spots to actually cool off and stuff, you can go to your local cooling centers, but you can call 311 so they could look for some cooling centers in the neighborhood near you. All right. So there you go right there. And while you're at it, why don't you click on the subscribe button right here on this channel right here. Leave a like, and alongside with sharing the videos, share it to your friends, and of course don't forget to hit that notification bell alerts so you don't miss out on any of the episodes whenever I go live. All right. So now that I got that out the way, I do want to address another thing that I already touched on it. Already. My previous laptop that I usually go on Spotify for creators and Riverside to upload the episodes, unfortunately, is out of service, and I've been kind of having a hard time looking for work. So until I get me a new job, the new laptop's gonna have to wait. So I'm using this Chromebook for the time being until I get me a new laptop. So this is actually a backup here. So that's pretty much what that is right there, a backup. So without further ado, let's go to, hang on one second. Yeah, we're going to go to Music Kool-Aid. Let's do this. All right, let's do this. All right. Let's get into wait for it. One second. There we go. All right, let's go over the best albums in 2026 that's going on so far, according to Complex. From Drake's Iceman to Kalani's self-titled project, these are the best 25 albums of 2026 at the halfway mark. Let's get into some key takeaways. These are the 25 best albums of 2026 featuring superstar drops from Drake, J. Cole, Don Toliver, and BTS. The list also makes room for adventurous rap and R&B from critical favorites like Isaiah Rashad, Baby Keem, Mike, and Earl Sweatshirt. Tokisha, and Brett Fayez, alongside rising names such as Samara Sin, Slayer, Elmian, and Jordan Ward. Drake's Icy Post Beef Opus Iceman tops the ranking, with Don Toliver's Octane and J. Cole's Career summing the fall off, rounding out the top tier. As financial policy, trickle-down economics has a spotty track record, but when it comes to music, it actually works. A big release can absolutely stimulate the pop music attention economy. Case in point, this year, before Drake dropped, the scene was feeling a little cold. Yes, there were big releases from A-listers like J. Cole, BTS, and Ye, but not a lot of it felt sticky. Then Iceman arrived, and to a lesser extent, Maid of Honor and Habibti, and suddenly there's new energy in the scene. But attention is one thing, quality is another. Looking at the year at the halfway point, the best releases are coming from classic figures, whether they are newcomers like Samara Sin, OGs like Mike and Earl Sweatshirt, or artists back from a long absence like Isaiah Rashad with a sprinkle of superstars. Here are the best 25 albums of 2026 so far, starting with number 26, Bully by Kanye West. Bully was billed as a return to basics for Ye. His 12th studio album finds him back in day one mode, chopping samples to great effects, especially on standouts like Preacher Man and Beauty and the Beast. But Bully introduces plenty of new ideas too, with the talented Andre Troutman shining brightest. He goes crazy on all the love. The production carries the album, often upstaging Ye, the rapper, who is mostly controversy free and sounds somewhat subdued. But even B level Kanye is still better than no Kanye, right? Number 24, Vince Staples, Crybaby. The ever versatile Vince Staples pivots again on Crybaby. He goes full punk, making his most experimental album since the Electric Big Fish Theory. Oh shit. What's not lost is Vince's acidic tone. Blackberry Marmalade throws back to his grandmother's life in America while obscuring performative white allyship, then interpolates Llama Llama into a reckoning on how black children are forced to grow up too fast. While Go Go Gorilla asks why a black man fears the cops meant to protect him, it's chorus straight out of Bring It On, racial tension included. Crybaby is Vince's first release as an independent artist, and he has never sounded so free. Number 23, Yeet, ADL. ADL is a sonic blockbuster with an A-list supporting cast, including everyone from Young Boy Never Broke Again to Little Uzi Vert to Kylie Jenner, and a double album scope. And in the process, Yeet hangs up the mask and leaves the mysterious persona behind. But the sound, thankfully, hasn't changed much. Tracks like Griddle with Don Toliver extends the anthology of futuristic bangers he's become known for, while songs like the outro, Up From Here, bring a layer of candor we don't typically see from him. I was at rock bottom, watch it go up in flames, turn another page, he raps. Number 22, BTS. Ari Ring. BTS returned from military service with the biggest first week sales a group has posted in over a decade. Yet the comeback pushed away day one armies, even as a spectacle pulled new listeners in. Named for a Korean folk anthem of longing and resilience, the record promised a return to their roots, then reopened criticism that the group dilutes its own heritage. Sure, Swim might have been a bit underwhelming for a comeback this size, but the album has its strengths. Hooligan was the moment nobody could ignore, and the slicker 2.0 won over even the skeptics. Number 21, Earl Sweatshirt, Mike, and Surf Gang Pompeii Utility. Pompeii and Utility is two solo albums packaged as one, with both being shaped by Surf Gang's eerie, stripped down production. Mike's side sets the mood early. The fall opens with wind and passing cars. The bid comes in like a robbery alarm, and not for TW drops into silence before Anasia Kim's angelic vocals shift the whole track. Earl Sweatshirt's side runs colder and weirder. Lead belly and quick turn 8-bit bounce and vaporwave haze into rap that sounds beamed in from a dead arcade. Oh wow. Really? That's how you fucking describe this shit? Really? Wow. Oh shit. Oh my gosh. Wow. Oh wow. All right, let's continue. Number 20, Lexa Gates. Alexa Gates, I am. Oh man. As soon as I saw the word eerie, I just had to play that sound effect, man. Oh my gosh, man. I had to, man. All right, so Lexa Gates is only 25, but you could mistake her for a 90s baby. She's become adept at mixing the modern, like live streaming herself walking on a hamster wheel to promote her album with the nostalgic, like the soulful sounds presented on I Am. That mix is maybe why, even though the album is throwback inspired, it never sounds washed. And even when rapping about the lows of relationships, like you don't give a fuck about me or you are better off, she does it in a warm way that rarely drags. Number 19, French Montana and Max B, Coke Wave 3.5 Narcos. 2 months out of prison, and Max B went back to work. He tried first with a solo mixtape, Public Domain 7, The First Purge, which was kind of dull. But the real magic came when he got back with his old buddy French Montana. Coke Wave 3.5 Narcos is straight out of the late 2000s in the best way. Max and French really do sound the best when they are together, flipping old rap hits, French with his boozed up alleyway flow, and Max with his croaky charisma and melodies. This one came with their first real hit of their union. Ever since you left me, I went deaf. A couple months later, the duo would release another standout tape that deserves mention, Wave Gods 2 Cosmo Brothers. Max gives us one more tape like this, and maybe he cracks the New York rapper list. By the way, in case you didn't know, folks, there is a remix to Ever Since You Left Me, the New York Knicks version actually. It's dedicated to the champions, the New York Knicks that won the NBA finals and stuff. So I just wanted to actually, if you didn't see the video with French Montana, Remy Ma, and everybody else was rocking Knicks outfits, jackets, hoodies, and stuff like that, jerseys and stuff like that, go check it out right now. The video's out right now, and I guarantee they're gonna. I guarantee that Uncle Ralph McDaniels is going to actually play that video in Video Music Box, which is coming on tomorrow. So you can tune into that tomorrow at midnight. All right. Number 18, Lucky Drugs Are Bad. Huh. A decade into his career. Oh, wow. Chicago classic hero Lucky is operating from a very different position. On Drugs Are Bad, he's more successful, more refined, and more commercially minded. Even with the changes, the album feels like quintessential Lucky druggy confessionals, hazy production, and bars that feel like you are deciphering hieroglyphics. But this is his superpower. His off kilter, barely awake delivery compels you to pay attention, specifically on Nuppy intro, where the tongue in cheek line, I'm on drugs, you already knew it, but saying it fun throws away the album's dare aesthetics. Number 17, Eladio Carrion Corsa. Eladio Carrion's consistency needs to be studied. A calendar year hasn't passed without the rapper holding shit down for the summer. This year, it's the energetic Corsa, the Latin trap album of the year. A strength of Eladio is his versatility, how he could slip into other subgenres and change just enough to make it sound fresh, whether it's playing with sexy drill on Polaroid or 80s inspired freestyle on the sweaty highlight body. Number 16, V's Y'all Won. Leakers have been a pesky problem for in-demand rappers. A few this better than Detroit Wizard V's, who had 100 songs leaked at the top of the year. So he threw a dozen Lucy's together and dropped a tape, no biggie. It's his first proper project since his modern classic Ganger in 2023. And a welcome one, woozy, dense, sophisticated pockets mixed with Detroit slick talk. Number 15, Tokisha, Amor and Droga. Tokisha built her name on Dembo and shock value. So the biggest surprise of Amor and Droga is how far she drifts from both. The Diplo assisted opener, Me Novio, brings an EDM festival shine, while the Skrillex production on Surfboard turns a faint reggaeton pulse into island club haze. Mono pairs an orchestral intro with elevator music, weirdness, and Perio Lorando invents its own genre, neo-paro heartbreak, complete with girls crying mid-dance in the video. Miami winks at day one fans by sampling her own Singamo, and Nani starts off kilter before blooming into something 70s. Tinged. Amor and Droga proves Tokisha refuses to be boxed in. That's right. Spread your horizons. That's what music artists are supposed to do. You don't want to be typecast into one thing. Number 14, ASAP Rocky, Don't Be Dumb. it's some rays. Oh shit. Oh man, that's the funniest name of the album. In some ways, Don't Be Dumb picks up where testing left off. Rocky is still experimenting. There's jazz influence on Robbery alongside Doechii, punk rock on Punk Rocky, and aggressive tracks like Shut the Fuck Up. That probably sounds much better in the mosh pit than in headphones. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. When it really shines is on the tracks that feel more like the Rocky from the early 2010s. There's the cool, calm rapping on Whiskey, Release Me, and anthems like Helicopter. Most of the features also hold their own, namely a chorus from Brent Faiyaz that will be stuck in your head all day, and a verse from Sauce Walker that is a sleeper pick for the best of the year. Number 13, Bossman D-Lo, Chicken Talking Bastard. Wow. Wow. That's funny. Yeah, don't be dumb and chicken talking bastard. That's the funniest name for an album. Yeah, so Bossman D-Lo, aka Mr. Pot Scrap, Mr. Pot Scrapper. Oh shit, is known for his slick street talk, and on his sophomore album, Chicken Talking Bastard, there's plenty of old school trap yapping. But Boss Man also has these hit making instincts and an ability to make songs large swaths of people like a rarity in modern rap. Nowhere is this more obvious than on the Kaya sampling Motion Party, one of the best rap plays in years. But don't sleep on the quirky let's go get 'em, or the inexplicably groovy house inspired Naked Hustle. Oh shit. Number 12, Samara Sin Detour. Yeah. Samaritan zigs when you expect her to zag. Sorry, I had to put that on mute because of a loud vehicle. Her EP Detour opens with a hypnotizing vocal exercise that abruptly explodes into a stuttery snare break. She flexes her singing chops again on Good Is a Lie before punching you in the chest with bars on Bushwick while sparring with um Overcast. um Unless it's Outcast, I'm not too sure about that. But anyway, somehow Samara is able to balance high level ability, which is the dexterous over influence, while still experimenting with new sounds. The spacey, oh shit, oh shit. It's proof that that she can make music before she's even finished refining her craft. Oh man. Oh my gosh, man. Wow. Oh yeah, maybe it is Overcast. Yeah. Didn't even I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. I'll look up where she's from later. Anyway, number 11, Slayer, Half Blood, Blood Lux. Oh shit. Slayer was birthed from the noisy, chaotic, and frequently expanding underground, but unlike some of his underground brethren, he doesn't want to stay there. And Half Blood shows off how strong his pop sensibilities are. He has a real knack for melodies, heartfelt ones too. Best seen on tracks like Brain Fog and Love Blur that sound like faintly familiar 2010s pop songs. Even more intriguing, the artist also racks up production credits on Half Blood under his Blood Lux alias, layering these melodies on tracks like Hard Knock and Toxic over booming trap drums and colorful synths that sound straight out of a Game Boy. Interesting. Number 10, Jordan Ward backward. Jordan Ward Jordan Ward knows that to move forward, you must look backward. The St. Louis Singers sophomore album is a haze of smooth, soulful vibes and transporting melodies that feel like a low lit flame in the corner of the room. Ward is in search of something here, still paving his own way while overcoming the obstacles life keeps throwing at him. Tracks like Change the Scenery and Stranger embody the overarching theme of Backward. He feels like a stranger in his own life, crooning with a vulnerability rare in modern R&B. That can that candidness is what makes Backwards so replayable, calm and grounding. Ward's vocal provide a sense of stability to an album mainly driven by uncertainty. Number 9, Kalani's self-titled album. Kalani is peaking as an artist, and she's doing it by embracing the music that raised her. Album highlight No Such Thing reaches back to the 90s, flipping Bolas, Sate's Bettina, a sample beloved by generations of producers. Shoulda Never opens with pure drama and knowing nod to Usher's Nice and Slow, while Call Me Back brings the 2000s flash with T-Pain and Lil Jon. Brandy adds warmth and grown woman polish to I Need You, and Missy Elliott makes back and forth feels instantly familiar. The songs as a collective make Kalani's self-titled album feel like a homecoming. And congratulations to Kalani for winning the BET Awards. Just a little side note here. Congratulations. All right. So yeah. I mean, yeah, let's make some noise, man. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Oh, sorry about that. Where was I? Yes. Making some noise for Kalani and the BET Awards she won. Let's do it. Number 8, El Mien, Sounds for Someone. A funny but true fact about El Mien. He's never been in love. Well, he's not the only one. He's not the only one. So how does the 24-year-old newbie end up making the Lover Boy album of the year? A cozy lounge sounding bomb to counter an R&B of this content. Who knows? But sounds for someone is needed. A romantic treat, gospel tinge, somewhat understated throne R&B album. Yes, there are songs for the heart eyes emoji users, like the delicate special, but also for the teary-eyed, like the tragic bald cry against the wind, which is all about wrestling with regret. Okay. It's okay to have regrets, man. You're a human being. You're allowed to feel away. Granted. Number 7, Brent Fayez, Icon. Brent Fayez has shed his skin as a toxic womanizer. Oh, player. Oh shit. Oh shit. Wow. Wow. That's crazy, man. Wow. Oh my gosh. Anyway, let me continue with this shit though, man. Oh my gosh. um oh boy. Where were we? Yeah. We were on number 7, right? Yeah, that's crazy though, man. Man, we're let me see. Where is this? Where's the one where it says womanizer? Okay, number 7. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, yeah, Brent Fayez has shed his skin as a toxic womanizer. Oh shit. He's now a yearner trying to trace his lover's thoughts across 10 tracks. Songwriting has long been one of Fayez's strengths. And on this icon, he's using those talents as a force for good, where each song dives deeper into the ebbs and flows of indulging in fast-paced love. He's assisted by the expert hands of Raphael Sadiq, who's who executive produced his who executive produced the album. The highlight is the outro, Vanilla Sky, where it sounds like Fayez is singing to himself in the mirror, pondering what actually makes him happy, closing icon with a to be continued that leaves the listener anxious for his next journal entry. You know, I hate the phrase to be continued on my TV screen, man. Like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so number 6, Isaiah Rashad, it's been awful. Okay. 4 years after being outed, Isaiah Rashad didn't let the noise flatten him. Instead, he turned it into something meaningful, exploring his own flaws and making up for lost time with his third studio album. It's been awful. While the album addresses the elephant in the room without dwelling on it, Zay is more than eager to catch fans up on how he's grown over the past 5 years. Now, on the album, he speaks on stints in rehab, ain't giving up, his emotional state and perseverance, MO, MOM, as well as his anxieties and reflections on lust, act normal. There are few supporting voices here, namely SZA and Dominic Fike, but these selections cater to the progressively personal nature of the record. It's been awful. See Zay find civil linings amid awful circumstances. Number 5, Drake, Maid of Honor. If Iceman was the statement settler and Habibti the nostalgic play, Maid of Honor is the experiment and eccentric continuation of the dance music Gordo and Drizzy were toying with back on Honestly Nevermind. The album answers the question, what if we just got 14 songs from what if we just got 14 songs of Nokia? Drake plays with all sorts of dance rhythms and spotlights newcomers on Outside Tweaking with Stunner Sandy and True Bestie with iconic Savvy. He finds a new goofball level for Sexy Red on Cheetah Print. And he even ventures into Brazilian funk on Q&A. Number 4, Baby Keem, Casino. Baby Keem delivers his coming of age album with Casino, carefully dissecting his upbringing behind the mic. The Casino theme touches on addiction, abuse, and tragedy, weaving them into the narrative throughout. but it wouldn't be a Keem album without a few bangers. The title track, partially produced by Cardo Got Wings, is the best example. An off-kilter, adrenaline-filled beat with weird 808 hits and cycling droning synths that both Kendrick and Playboi Carti would sound comfortable on. Elsewhere, the groovy sample and West Coast rhythm of Birds and the Bees recalls his breakout Orange Soda. Not the Orange Soda that Kel Mitchell likes. Oh, shit. The mix of songs on the album strike a nice balance between nostalgic soul sampling, East Coast inspired production, and beats that are more forward thinking. Number 3, J. Cole, The Fall Off. If J. Cole's The Fall Off is indeed his final album, it's a strong one, a love letter to his younger self and an earnest reflection on a storied career. The album functions like um an an amalgamation of several other Cole albums. It has the narrative storytelling of For Your Eyes Only, the maturity and growth of 2014 Forest Hills Drive, and the hungry aspirational bars akin to projects like The Warm Up and The Off Season. And even as Cole signals this is the end, there are signs it's not. He talks about how he's fallen back in love with the game on I Love Her Again. And on the second verse of Quick Stop, he recounts an encounter with a fan who reminded him that he's still loved and the music he makes is important. The Fall Off encapsulates both versions of Cole, the hungry up and comer, and the reflective veteran, giving listeners a full picture whether or not this is actually goodbye. Number 2, Don Toliver, Octane. Outside of Drake, Don Toliver is clearly the rapper of 2026. And Octane is a it's a continuation of his style, that syrupy crooning over off kilter bass heavy beats. His voice stands out over the warping reverse drums on E85 or the methodical droning production of Excavator. Almost 10 years into his career, Don is comfortable in his superstar era. He has fully stepped out of the Cactus Jack CEO's shadow, establishing himself as the best talent on the CJ roster and one of the most exciting names in hip hop record. Last but not least, number 1, Drake, Iceman. Drake weathered the most wicked storm of his career and somehow came out of it even colder. There was obviously a lot riding on Iceman, but it would be naive to think he wouldn't bring up the rap beef. The battle is still top of mind for Drake, and he delivered one of the most honest performances of his career with Make Them Cry, where he talks about his fear of aging and his mental health deteriorating. But of course, Drake has multitudes, and while there is a lot of bars on Iceman, he also caters to the charts with the more club-friendly songs like Shebang and Janice, Shut the Fuck Up, and Ran to Atlanta. Even with 3 albums serving different corners of his massive fan base, Iceman alone still finds a way to do a little something for everybody. Iceman's thesis comes in Firm Friends, where he airs his most paranoid thoughts but still takes some semblance of accountability along the way. Like he says on the track, he's not the villain or the victim. He's the boy who lived after the rap war and still delivered the best album of the year so far. So yeah, there you go right there. There you go. Let's see. let's see. I don't know if you would count this as a hip hop news, but this is from Hip Hop Wires. So the series yeah, which stars Wyland Noel from Insecure and Matthew Law, Abbott Elementary, follows two men on different sides of the law. Nemesis will return following a very successful first season on Netflix. The original series from the mind of Kemp premiered on the streamer back in May, spending 5 weeks on Netflix's global top 10 English language TV charts and eventually earning the top spot in its second week of availability. Courtney A. Kemp, Power's original creator, is possibly building a streaming franchise with Nemesis, which has officially been ordered to a second season on Netflix. Variety reports that Nemesis will return following a very successful first season on Netflix. The original series from the mind of Kemp premiered on the streamer back in May, spending 5 weeks on Netflix's global top 10 English language charts and eventually earning the top spot in its second week of availability. Nemesis co-creator and executive producer Tani Moreau spoke on the show's return. Season 2, we're very grateful to have it. We're going to make sure those questions get answered, and even more questions are available for you to answer, Moreau said, according to Variety. Make no mistake, season 2 is going to be bigger and better. Courtney A. Kemp says she feels blessed to see Nemesis get a second season. Kemp added, I feel blessed to get a season 2. We thank the fans. It's because of them. There's no other reason. It's them showing up, them talking about it, and their huge social media response. We are grateful to Netflix for recognizing the power of our audience and bringing us back for the fans. The series, which stars Wyland Noel and Matthew Law, follows two men on different sides of the law. Noel plays an expert criminal who is butting heads with a brilliant detective played by Law. The official law line for the show reads, Nemesis is the story of it's a story of two men on either side of the law, the tale of what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. What starts as a crime series amped with thrilling life or death stakes and explosive action drives deeper to explore family, marriage, and personal identity, that which drives us, sustains us, and ultimately destroys us. So if you haven't had a chance to watch the 10 episodes, make sure you check it out on Netflix. All right. All right. We're gonna go on to let me see. Yeah. All right, we're gonna go on to let me see. All right, hold on 1 second. Let me just set this up. Now, time for the movie Man Cave Popcorn Lounge. All right. Let's do this. As the name of the episode if anybody doesn't know, this is dedicated to the crazy movies that involves viruses and outbreaks. So this is so the name of the episode is There Are Too Much of These Wild Outbreaks. This is dedicated to movies. Um this is dedicated to movies that deals with outbreak related stuff, including rabies. I will actually touch on that particular movie in a sec. So let's start off with Contagion. The PG-13 movie is a 2011 American medical thriller film directed by Steven Soderbergh. Its assembled cast includes Matt Damon, Lawrence Fishburne, Jude Law, Marion Cotillard, Kate Winslet, and Gwyneth Paltrow. The plot concerns the spread of a highly contagious virus transmitted through respiratory droplets and fomites. Attempts by medical researchers and public health officials to identify and contain the disease, the loss of social order as the virus turns into a worldwide slamdemic, and the introduction of a vaccine to halt its spread. To follow several interacting plot lines, the film makes use of the multi narrative hyperlink cinema style popularized in several of Soderbergh's films. The film was inspired by real-life outbreaks such as the 2002 to 2004 SARS outbreak and the 2009 flu slamdemic. Yeah. And hold on. Hold on. Bryan Cranston, Jennifer Earl, and Sanaa Lathan was in this movie. I didn't know Sanaa was in this movie. Interesting. Following the following their collaboration on The Informant 2009, Soderbergh and screenwriter Scott Z. Burns discussed a film depicting the rapid spread of a virus. Burns consulted with representatives of the World Health Organization as well as medical experts such as W. Ian Lipkin and Larry Brilliant. That's a cool name. Principal photography started in Hong Kong in September 2010 and continued in Chicago, Atlanta, aka Atlanta, of course, London, Dublin, Geneva, and San Francisco Bay Area until February 2011. Contagion premiered at the 68th Venice International Film Festival on September 3rd, 2011, and was theatrically released by Warner Brothers Pictures on September 9th, 2011. Commercially, the film made $136.5 million against its $60 million production budget. Ooh, okay. Um, critics praised it for its narrative and the performances, as did scientists for its accuracy. The film received renewed popularity in 2020 due to the emergence of the COVID-19 slamdemic. Now, I don't know if I. Now, let's see. I don't want to go into too much of the. So where's? So let me see. Let me see. All right. So. So let's go to the production side of this, though. So story development for Contagion coincide with Scott Z. Burns' collaboration with Steven Soderbergh in The Informant 2009. The duo had initially planned to create a biographical film on Leni Riefenstahl, a trailblazer in German cinema during the 1930s and a figure in the rise of the Nazi Party. Soderbergh later contacted Burns to cancel the project as he thought that a film about a Riefenstahl would struggle to attract an audience. Intrigued with the field of transmission, Burns suggested that they instead create a film that centered on a slamdemic situation, an interesting thriller version of a slamdemic movie. His main objective was to construct a medical thriller that really felt like that could happen. Burns consulted with Larry Brilliant, renowned for his work in eradicating smallpox, to develop an accurate perception of a slamdemic event. He had seen one of Brilliant's TED presentations, which which he was fascinated by, and realized that the point of view of people within that field isn't if this is going to happen, it's when is this going to happen. Brilliant introduced Burns to um, epidemiologist W. Ian Lipkin. With the aid of these physicians, the producers were able to obtain additional perspectives from representatives of the World Health Organization. Burns also met with the author of The Coming Plague, Laurie Garrett. Her 1995 book helped Burns consider a variety of potential plots for the film. He wanted to feature an official from the CDC and ultimately decided to use an epidemiologist, since that role requires interacting with people while tracking the disease. Although he had done research on slamdemics 6 months prior to the 2009 flu slamdemic, that outbreak enhanced his understanding of the societal apparatus that responds during the onset stages of a slamdemic. To him, it was not solely the virus itself that one had to be concerned about, but how society handles the situation. End quote. I saw them come to life, Burns said, and I saw issues about, do you close the schools? And if you close the schools, then who stays home with the kids? And will everyone keep their kids at home? Things happening online, which is where the Jude Law character came from. That there's going to be information that comes out online where people want to be ahead of the curve. So some people will write things about antiviral or different treatment protocols, and so there's always going to be an information that, and that information also has sort of a viral pulse. In addition to directing, Soderbergh was the cinematographer of Contagion. The film was wholly shot using Red Digital Cinema's Red One MX digital camera, which has a 4.5K image resolution. Since he hoped for the premise to be authentic and as realistic as possible, Soderbergh opted not to film in the studio. There's, to me, nothing more satisfying occasionally than making someplace look like someplace else on the film and having nobody know the difference. For choosing cities, Soderbergh felt that they couldn't go anywhere one of our characters hasn't been, since since he wanted to portray an epic yet intimate scenario. He explained, we can't cut to a city or a group of extras that we've never been to, that we don't know personally. That was our rule. And that's a pretty significant rule to adhere to in a movie in which you are trying to give a sense of something that's happening on a large scale. But we felt that all of the elements that we had issues with prior, when we see any kind of disaster film, we're centered around the idea. Principal photography started in Hong Kong in September 2010 and continued for approximately 2 weeks. Soderbergh was originally hoping to also film in mainland China, though movie phone journalist David Ehrlich believed that permission from the Chinese government was unlikely to be forthcoming, although producers also intended to establish a filming location in one of the many casinos in Macau. The Jumbo Floating restaurant in Hong Kong's Aberdeen Harbor was used instead for the casino setting. As filming within the vicinity of a gambling establishment is prohibited by law. To move the equipment for the casino scenes to the on-the-water location, producers hired a number of locals to carry out the task, as they were accustomed to using sampans like trucks. Additional locations included the Hong Kong International Airport, Intercontinental Hong Kong, and the Princess Margaret Hospital. Principal photography relocated in the following month to Chicago, Illinois, which served as the nexus for production. Much of the cityscape and its surrounding suburbs were used to emulate Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Atlanta, Georgia, in addition to serving as backup for Chicago itself. Since principal photography occurred during the winter months, snowfall was a prerequisite in simulating a persistent coldness that encompassed a hypersensitive kind of glare. Within the city limits, filming locations included the Shedd Aquarium, O'Hare International Airport, and Midway Airport. Arguably, the largest sets were at the General Jones Armory, which was converted into an infirmary, and a major location shoot occurred in Waukegan, about 40 miles north of Chicago, where a portion of the Amstutz Expressway was used to simulate the Dan Ryan Expressway. Production also took place at Sherman Hospital in Elgin and Central Elementary School in Wilmette, and also in downtown Western Springs, where the grocery store scene was filmed. Filming moved once again in January 2011 to the Druid Hills quadrant of Atlanta, which contains the headquarters of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The restricted nature of the CDC campus meant that producers were only allowed to shoot exterior scenes of the area, as well as within the parking garage and reception area for the CDC's museum on site. Principal photography then proceeded into Atlanta's Central Business District and Decatur, before advancing to London, Geneva, and lastly San Francisco, California in the ensuing month. The San Francisco Film Commission charged filmmakers $300 per day for production within the city limits. In the North Beach and Potrero Hills sections of the city, production designer Howard Cummings scattered trash and discarded clothing on the ground to depict decline of civilization. For the Civic Center set, over 2,000 extras were sought for in background roles. Actors who were a part of the Screen Actors Guild were paid $139 per day, while non-union workers received $64 per day for their work. Other filming locations were established at Golden Gate Park, Chinatown, and Candlestick Park. It cost $60,000 to rent the football stadium for 6 days. Genentech Hall at the University of California, San Francisco Mission Bay campus was used for filming, also renamed Mendel Hall for the occasion. Yeah, so there you go right there. Let's go to the reception. I don't think I want to go to the. I'm not going to go to the analysis and stuff. So let's go to the reception. So various American commercial analysis anticipated that the film would have ticket sales of between $20 to $25 million during its opening weekend, which it did, grossing $8 million on its first day and $23.1 million for the entire weekend. Of that total, 10%, $2.3 million of the gross came from IMAX screenings by outgrossing competitor The Help. Contagion became the highest grossing film of the week. Demographically, the opening audience was evenly divided among gender, according to Warner Brothers Pictures, while 80% of spectators were of the age of 25 and over. Contagion did well the following weekend, generating a $14.5 million box office, but came in second to the re-release of The Lion King in 1994. The third week saw the box office drop by 40% for a total gross of $8.7 million. By the fourth week, Contagion had dropped to ninth place at the box office with $5 million, and the number of theaters narrowed to 2,744. The film completed its hold on. The film completed its theatrical run on December 15, 2011, at which point its total domestic gross was $75.6 million. Contagion made its international debut in 6 foreign markets the same weekend as its American release, including Italy, where it achieved $663,000 from 309 theaters. 309 theaters. The first week saw Contagion gross $2.1 million from 553 establishments, a per theater average of $3,797. Foreign grosses for Contagion would remain relatively stagnant up until the weekend of October 16, 2011, when the film expanded into several additional European markets. Out of the $3.9 million that was generated from 1,100 venues during that weekend, nearly 40% of the gross originated from Spain, where the film earned $1.5 million from 325 theaters. With the growing expansion of the film in 7 additional markets, the weekend of October 21st to the 23rd, 2011 saw Contagion take in $9.8 million from 2,505 locations, increasing the international gross to $22.9 million. In the United Kingdom, one of the film's significant international releases, Contagion opened in third place at the box office with $2.3 million from 398 theaters. It subsequently garnered the highest debut gross of a Soderbergh film since Ocean's 13, 2007. International grosses for Contagion totaled $60.8 million. Critical response. Contagion has received positive reviews by film commentators. Review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes reported that 85% of critics have given the film a positive review based on 278 reviews, with an average rating of 7.10 out of 10. The website's critics consensus states tense, tightly plotted, and bolstered by a stellar cast. Contagion is an exceptionally smart and scary disaster movie. On Metacritic, which assigns a rating out of 100 based on the critiques from mainstream critics, the film received an average score of 70 based on 38 reviews, indicating generally favorable reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B minus on an A plus to F scale. The Guardian journalist Peter Bradshaw felt that Contagion blended well together as a film, although opined that Soderbergh was somewhat unsuccessful in channeling the fears, frights, and the massive sense of loss of ordinary people. to David Danby of The New Yorker. The brilliant film was serious, precise, frightening, and emotionally enveloping. enveloping. Despite applauding Soderbergh for hopscotching um, uh, tidily between the intimate and international, the Atlantic's Christopher Orr was disappointed with the film's detached and clinical disposition, which led him to conclude that Contagion should have gone with a more inflexible rationale, or or a lesson beyond wash your hands often and hope you are lucky. For all the craft that went into it, Contagion it is ultimately beyond good or bad, beyond criticism. It just is, professed the Atlantic writer, describing it as a smart and spooky installment. Manola Dargis of the New York Times wrote, Mr. Soderbergh doesn't milk your tears as things fall apart, but a passion that can feel like cold rage is inscribed in his images of men and women isolated in the frame, in the blurred point of view of the dying, and in the insistent stillness of a visual style that seems like an exhortation to look. Regarding the story, um, Salon columnist Andrew O. Andrew O'Heher avouched that the crisp and succinct narrative matched up to the beautifully composed visuals of the film. Tom McCarthy of the Hollywood Reporter proclaimed that Soderbergh and Burns effectively created anxiety in a shrewd and unsensationalistic film without becoming exaggerated. A sentiment echoed by Jeanette Katsolis of NPR, who insisted that the duo weave multiple characters into a narrative that's complex without being confusing and intelligent without being baffling. Writing for the Village Voice, Karina Longworth thought that Contagion reflected the self-consciousness and experimentation of some of Soderbergh's previous efforts, such as the Ocean's trilogy and the Girlfriend Experience. The performances of the multiple cast members were frequently mentioned in the reviews. The Boston Globe journalist Wesley Morris praised not only um, Earl's um, performance, but the work of the undercard, such as Cranston Gold and Colin Tony, among others. Similarly, Peter Travers of Rolling Stone called Earl the best in the show. As Los Angeles Times Kenneth Turin summed up, two-time Tony-winning actress Jennifer Earl comes close to stealing the picture with this quietly yet quirky empathetic performance. With regard to law, the Philadelphia Inquirer Stephen Rea stated that the actor portrayed the character with a nutty confidence. Mick LaSalle from the San Francisco Chronicle agreed with Rea's thoughts. Damon provided the film's relatable heart, according to Forrest Wickman of Slate, who concluded that even with her controlled performance, Winslet lives up to her head of the class reputation, even in an unusually small role. The character development of multiple characters produced varying response from critics, contrary to Mitch's stance as the main protagonist. Michael O'Sullivan of the Washington Post felt that Contagion treats him with an oddly clinical detachment. In particular, Law's character, Alan Crumweed attracted commentary from Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times, who wrote, in quote, "The blogger subplot doesn't interact clearly with the main storylines and functions mostly as an alarming but vague distraction." Scientific response, Ferris Jabbar of New Scientist approved of Contagion for accurately portraying the successes and frustrations of science. Jabbar cites stories, cites story elements such as the fact that before researchers can study a virus, they need to figure out how to grow it in cell cultures in the lab without the virus destroying all the cells, as examples of accurate depictions of science. Carl Zimmer, a science writer, praised the film, stating, "It shows how reconstructing the course of an outbreak can provide crucial clues, such as how many people an infected person can give a virus to, how many of them get sick, and how many of them die." He also describes a conversation with the film's scientific consultant W. Ian Lipkin, in which Lipkin defended the rapid generation of a vaccine in the film. Zimmer wrote that Lipkin and his colleagues are now capable of figuring out how to trigger immune reactions to exotic viruses from animals in a matter of weeks, not months. And once they've created a vaccine, they don't have to use Eisenhower era technology to manufacture it in bulk. Paul Offit, a pediatrician and vaccination expert, stated that typically when movies take on science, they tend to sacrifice the science in favor of drama. That wasn't true here. Offit appreciated the film's uses of concepts um, such as R0 and fomites, as well as the fictional strain's origins, which was based on the Nipah virus. Yeah, there you go, right there. Yeah, there you go, right there. Now, next movie we're going to talk about is, let's see. Next movie we're going to talk about is Outbreak. Outbreak, the rated R movie, is a 1995 American medical disaster film directed by Wolfgang Peterson and written by Lawrence D. Warwick and Robert Roy Poole. The film stars Dustin Hoffman, Renee Russo, and Morgan Freeman, and co-stars Donald Sutherland, Cuba Gooding Jr., Kevin Spacey, and Patrick Dempsey, who you may know from Memory of a Killer, which got a second season, by the way. All right, let's see what else. So the film, let me see. So the film focuses on an outbreak of Motoba, a fictional Ebola virus, and an orthomoxy viridae like virus in, in Zaire, and later in a small town in California. It is set primarily in the United States Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, as well as the fictional town of Cedar Creek, California. Outbreaks plot speculates how far military and civilian agencies might go to contain the spread of a deadly contagious disease. Um, the film, released by Warner Brothers on March 10th, 1995, was a box office success, and Spacey won 2 awards for his performance. a real-life outbreak of the Ebola virus was occurring in Zaire, in, in Zaire when the film was released. The film's popularity resurged during the COVID-19 slamdemic, ranking as the fourth most streamed film in the United States on Netflix on March 13th, 2020. So the budget for this film is $50 million, and it did well in the box office, around $189.8 million. So there you go right there. Now we go to the production side of things. Scenes in Cedar Creek were filmed in Ferndale, California, where tanks and helicopters were a common feature of daily life during nearly 2 months of filming. Other locations used were Dugway Proving Ground and Kauai. Harrison Ford was offered the role of Sam Daniels but turned it down. Sylvester Stallone and Mel Gibson were also offered the role but also turned it down. Producer Linda Obst has stated it was due to the production of Outbreak that the film adaptation of The Hot Zone was dropped by 20th Century Fox, despite having, in her words, the better package and the better script. She also claimed that the director Wolfgang Peterson tried to entice Robert Redford, who was already cast for her film, to be a part of Outbreak based on Redford's call to her. Obst would eventually have her adaptation of the book, but greenlit as a miniseries by National Geographic, which premiered in May 2019. And we go to the success of the box office. Outbreak was a commercial success. It topped the U.S. box office list its opening weekend with a gross of $13.4 million. Spent 3 weeks at number one before Tommy Boy's release. It was number one in Japan for 6 weeks. The film grossed $67.7 million in the United States and Canada and $122.2 million internationally for a worldwide total of $189.9 million. Critical reception. Outbreak received mixed reviews from critics, according to the review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes. The review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes. 59% of 64 critics gave the film a positive review, with an average rating of 5.7 out of 10. The website's consensus states, in quote, a frustratingly uneven all-star disaster drama. Outbreak ultimately proves only mildly contagious and leaves few lasting side effects. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 64 out of 100, based on 21 critic reviews, indicating generally favorable reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A- on a scale of A+ to F scale. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times gave it 3.5 stars of four, calling Outbreak's premise one of the great scare stories of our time. The notion that deep in the uncharted rainforest, deadly diseases are lurking, and if they ever escape their jungle homes and enter the human bloodstream, there will be a new plague, the likes of which we have never seen. Rita Kempley of the Washington Post also enjoyed the film's plot. Outbreak is an absolute hoot, thanks primarily to director Wolfgang Peterson's rapid pacing and the great care he brings to setting up the story and its probability. David Denby wrote for the New York Magazine that although the opening scenes were well done, somewhere in the middle, Outbreak falls off a cliff and becomes lamely conventional. Janet Maslin of the New of the New York Times found the film's subject compelling, but its treatment ineffective. The film's shallowness also contributes to the impression that no problem is too thorny to be solved by movie heroics. Scientific accuracy, the film's scientific liberties have been criticized, especially compared to the realism of the 2011 film Contagion. Implausibilities include the virus taking only an hour rather than days to multiply, the synthesis of the cure taking less than a minute rather than many months, and the injection of the cure producing immediate improvement. Now, James Newton Howard won the ASCAP Film and Television Music Awards for top box office films. Critics' Choice Award for Kevin Spacey. He won for Best Supporting Actor. And he was also the runner-up for the Los Angeles Film Critics Association Awards for Best Supporting Actor. Cuba Gooding Jr. got a nomination for the NAACP Image Awards for Outstanding Supporting Actor in the Motion Picture. Kevin Spacey won the New York Film Critics Circle Awards for Best Supporting Actor. Outbreak got a nomination at the Saturn Awards for Best Science Fiction Film, and Kevin Spacey won the Society of Texas Film Critics Awards for Best Supporting Actor. Later popularity, the film's popularity resurged during the COVID-19 slamdemic, ranking as the fourth most streamed film on Netflix in the United States on March 13, 2020. All right, let's go to Daybreakers. Daybreakers is the 2009 dystopian sci-fi action horror vampire film written and directed by Michael and Peter Spyrig. The film takes place in a futuristic world overrun by vampires and centers around a vampiric corporation which sets out to capture and farm the remaining humans while researching a substitute for human blood. Ethan Hawke plays vampire hematologist Edward Dalton, whose work is interrupted by human survivors led by former vampire Elvis, played by William Dafoe, who has a cure that can save the human species. Yeah. So not only Ethan Hawke and William Dafoe are in the movie. Claudia Carvan, Michael Dorman, Sam Neill, Vince Colosimo, and Isabel Lucas are in that film. Okay. An international co-production between the United States and Australia, Daybreakers premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival in 2009. It was released in the United Kingdom on January 6, 2010, and in North America on January 8th, 2010. The film grossed over $50 million worldwide from a $20 million budget and received mixed to positive critical reception. Okay, let's go to the production and stuff. So, all right. So, in November 2004, Lionsgate acquired the script to Daybreakers, written by Peter and Michael Spyrig, the brothers who directed Undead 2003. were attached to direct Daybreakers. In September 2006, the brothers received financing from Film Finance Corporation Australia, with production set to take place in Queensland. Daybreakers began filming on the Gold Coast at Warner Brothers Movie World Studios in the Brisbane on July 16, 2007. The production budget was US $20 million, with the state government contributing $1 million to the filmmakers. Principal photography was completed on schedule in September 2007, with reshoots following to extend key sequences. Now, the Spearigs told interviewer Eric Vespi of It Ain't Cool News that they wrote the lead for Ethan Hawke, who was initially hesitant to join the production as he was not a big fan of genre pictures. He ultimately accepted the role as Edward after deciding the story felt different from that of a typical B movie. He took the role in May 2007. Michael Spearig explained to it ain't cool news that once Hawke was in, other actors were interested, particularly Sam Neill and William Dafoe. Peter Spyrig added, Sam was on the film for about 3 weeks and every day was such a joy. Neil is such a refined, articulate, intelligent guy. Peter joked to the interviewer that it was hard to say to Sam, now I'm going to throw this bucket of blood all over you. Is that all right? And he's like, yeah, okay. Hawke described the film as an allegory of a man's pacing with natural resources. We're eating our own resources, so people are trying to come up with blood substitutes, trying to get us off of foreign humans. The actor also said that despite the serious allegory, the film was low art and completely unpretentious and silly. And visual effects and design, Weather Workshop created the creature effects for Daybreakers. The Spearig brothers wanted the vampires in the film to have a classical aesthetic to them, while feeling like a more contemporary interpretation. After experimenting with complex makeup designs, they decided that a more minimalistic approach to makeup had a more powerful effect. The film's color palette emphasizes the differences between the vampire world, with its night scenes and Bromley marks, offices, and the human's world. One reviewer noted that most of the vampire scenes colors are colder, clinical, and nourish. Blue, gray, and white, with splashes of crimson for blood and yellow for the vampire's eyes. The daylit scenes are warmer, with yellow, orange, and sepia, and some relief of lush greenery. Another reviewer praised the palette as creative, celebratory of the outlandish bloodshed, while determined to maintain morose aesthetic. That it certainly does. Clever uses of light draw color and fondness for shadow give Daybreakers a minimalist, sleek look that says both restrained and near future. Peter Spyrig told an interviewer that the colors and their avoidance of overuse of blue lenses were a conscious aesthetic choice. That was pretty much in the script, and it's also that the human world has a completely different light. In the vampire world, we decided to use a lot of big fluorescent light panels to kind of give the illusion of a window without actually using an external light source. That was definitely always planned, where you have the warm and earthy side of humanity while you have the dark tone side for the undead. It was always a conscious choice, but you have to be careful with decisions like that because it can always be seen as derivative. We were always conscious of trying to make it not underworld with black leather. Daybreakers premiered on September 11th, 2009 at the 34th Annual Toronto International Film Festival. The film was released on January 6, 2010 in the UK and Ireland January 8th, 2010 in North America, and February 4th, 2010 in Australia. Critical reception on Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 69% based on reviews from 154 critics, with an average rating of 6.1 out of 10. The website's critical consensus states, though it arrives during an unfortunate glut of vampire movies, Daybreakers offers enough dark sci-fi thrills and enough of a unique twist on the genre to satisfy filmgoers. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 57 out of 100 based on 31 reviews, indicating mixed or average reviews. Audiences surveyed by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of C on an A plus to F scale. Richard Brody of The New Yorker liked the film, saying it delivers the conceptual light of a 50s style B movie whose conceit is worked out in whiz-bang diabolical detail and brought to life with imaginative effects. Den of Geek in a 4 out of 5 stars review praised the acting by Neil and Defoe, the jump scares, and the brilliantly realized subsider makeup effects, concluding, given the film's fantastical premise, it is reassuringly grounded in reality. It's a nice mix of action, sci-fi, and thriller, and the tension keeps up throughout. Film critic Brian Egert gave the film a rating of 3 out of 4 stars, praising its entertaining yet smart style and seeing in the Spy Rig brothers the potential to become great genre filmmakers following in the footsteps of cult. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say cult. I meant to say classic, but cult classic horror. Um, our masters John Carpenter and George A. Romero, because they helped reestablish vampires into scary and socially reflective movie monsters. Variety gave the film a mixed review, stating the film had a cold, steely blue, black and gray matrixy look, going on to say Daybreakers emerges as a competent but routine chase thriller that lacks attention getting dialogue, unique characters, or memorable set pieces that might make it a genre keeper rather than a polished time filler. Rolling Stone gave the film two and a half out of 4 stars and called the film a B movie and a nifty genre piece. Roger Ebert also gave the film 2.5 stars, stating that the intriguing premise ends as so many movies do these days, with fierce fights and bloodshed. Richard Robert gave the film a B plus and called it a bloody good time. Laura Kern of Bloodvine also wrote a positive review, calling the movie a slick, violent, and intensely gloomy horror action sci-fi hybrid that stands out in a crowded field of end of mankind movie scenarios. Kern says the director's second feature more than atones for their less than promising debut. Undead a dippy zombie flick that had moments of inspiration, but little of the energy that relentlessly surges through Daybreakers. Cinema Bland with a 3.5 out of 5-star rating calls the movie a wild ride packed with innovation, blood, and a whole lot of fun. The reviewer continues. Um the film slows significantly at the midpoint, but everything else is such a blast. It blends in almost unnoticeably. Even some laughable special effects are strangely appropriate. The power of the Speed Rig brothers is mighty, and it'll be impossible to sit down for this effort without becoming completely absorbed in their futuristic world of vampire cliches and novelties. The cinematography is on point, the screenplay creatively developed, and then to the horror fans' delight, both are doused with enough blood to make a wildly refreshing vampire movie. Of course, Brian E. Brian Egert also praised the effects, saying that the speed rigs completed the CGI animation themselves. However, the true visual marvel of the movie isn't the computer effects, which mostly help complete the cityscapes and the human farming machinery. The wonders are the abundant makeup work, everything from the hideous subsiders to the use of fake blood has a potent, tangible quality on screen. So many movies today use computer animated blood. See Ninja Assassin for buckets of the stuff that isn't there to save time and money, and they use the same tricks to render their creatures. See the Underworld series for some CGI vamps and werewolves. It costs a lot to clean up and reshoot a blood splatter scene and employ makeup artists and have actors sitting in chairs for hours on end. So the authenticity of the blood and monster effects throughout the film is appreciated. So, as of October 2010, the box office gross was 51,416,464 dollars, including $30,101,577 in the U.S. In its opening weekend in the United States, Daybreakers opened at number 4 behind Avatar, Sherlock Holmes, and Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel, with 15,146,692 in 2,523 theaters, averaging 6,003 dollars per theater. Yeah, so there you go right there, man. There you go right there. Now we can go to there's a movie that came out this year I wanted to go over actually. There's a movie that I wanted to go over. And no, actually it came out last year. I'm sorry. It came out last year. And the R-rated movie I'm talking about is Primate, which is a 2025 American natural horror film about an adopted chimpanzee who gets rabies and becomes violent. It is directed and co-written by Joannes Roberts, who also co-wrote the screenplay with Ernest Riera. It stars Johnny Sequoia, Jessica Alexander, and Troy Kotzer. Oh shit. Yeah, and Primate premiered at the Fantastic Fest on September 18, 2025, and was released in theaters on January 9th of this year by Paramount Pictures. The film received generally positive reviews from critics and has grossed $41 million worldwide. And of course, this was on a budget between $21 to $24 million. Luckily, it did make its money back. Oh shit. Okay. Let's go to the production. So in July 2024, Paramount Pictures greenlit Primate from director Johannes Roberts, who co-wrote the script with Ernest Riera and with Walter Hamada producing through a first-look deal with Paramount and Troy Kotzer starring. The following month, Johnny Sequoia joined the cast, which rounded out that October. On September 16th, 2024, Robert revealed on his Instagram account that principal photography had begun. On November 4th, 2024, he announced filming had wrapped. The film was shot on sound stages in London with set designed by Simon Bowles. Let's see. Let's see. Let's go to reception real quick. All right, so Primate premiered. Hold on, let me see. I'm sorry. Um, the film made $1.4 million in the box office North America previews. In its opening weekend, it would make one. It would make $11.3 million and place second at the box office. on review aggregator on the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 77% of 203 critics review are positive, with an average rating of 6.3 out of 10. The website consensus reads, "That's one bad ape," and Primate is one lean, mean, effective chiller. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 58 out of 100 based on 26 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B- on an A+ to F scale. Clint Worthington of RogerEbert.com gave the film 3 out of 4 stars and wrote, in quote, "It gets you in and out of the theater in less than 90 minutes, squirming in your seat and yelling at the screen." Megan Navarro of Bloody Disgusting gave it a score of 3.5 out of 5, writing, "Primate may not ultimately impress for originality, but as an old school animal attack creature feature, it's an adrenaline rush of fun." Yeah, there you go. There you go. Now we go to Dead Man Down. Dead Man Down is a 2013 American action thriller written and co-produced by J.H. Wyman and directed by Danish director Niels Arden Oplev. The film stars Colin Farrell, um, Nomi Rapace, Dominic Cooper, and Terrence Howard, and was released on March 8th, 2013. Dead Man Down was Oplev's first film since The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Also starring Rapace and scored by Jacob Groff. Also, Isabel Hubbard is in that movie as well. Now, let's go to the production here. So, oh wow. The abandoned cruise liner ship is the SS United States, which was docked in Philadelphia at the time, although the film is set in New York City. All right, so Dead Man Down received mostly negative reviews from critics. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds a 42% approval rating from 104 reviews with an average score of 5.10 out of 10. The site's consensus reads, in quote, the while the fine cast keeps Dead Man Down watchable throughout, the film is weighted down by absurd plot twists and a slack pace. Metacritic gives the film a score of 39 out of 100, based on reviews from 24 critics, indicating generally unfavorable reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B- on an A+ to F scale. Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian gave the film 1 out of 5 stars, which he called intensely pointless and silly, and violent and boring nonsense with Farrell smolderingly facially immobile. In contrast, the film director um, Take um, Fumi Sutsi gave the film 5 out of 5 stars. Michael Rechtshafen of the Hollywood Reporter noted various thematic influences ranging from Rear Window to True Romance, and praised the potent visuals and a compelling international cast, but ultimately found the film uninspiring with an unrewarding climax. The film grossed $5,345,250 in its first box office weekend against a budget of $30 million. It went on to earn a total of 18,074,539 worldwide, making it a box office bomb. Damn. Actually, it was not. Yeah. Well, that sucks, man. That really sucks, man, for this movie. It looks like it went. It looks like shit, man. It just went into. Hold on, let me just try to get that. And I think it just. Man, this is crazy, man. Okay, next movie we're gonna get to. Hopefully this is the last one. Hopefully this is the last one. The last movie to go over would be 12 Monkeys. 12 Monkeys, the next rated R movie, is a 1995 American science fiction thriller film directed by Terry Gilliam, from a screenplay by David Peoples and Janet Peoples, based on Chris Marker's 1962 short film La Jetée. It stars Bruce Willis, Madeline Stowe, Brad Pitt, and Christopher Plummer, set in a post-apocalyptic future devastated by disease. The film follows a convict who is sent back in time to gather information about the man-made virus that wiped out most of the human population on the planet. Wow. So, the film was theatrically released in the United States on December 29th, 1995 by Universal Pictures. It received positive reviews from critics and grossed over $168.8 million worldwide against a $29 million budget. Mm-hmm. All right. At the 68th Academy Awards, the film was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Pitt and Best Costume Design. It garnered 7 nominations at the 22nd Saturn Awards, winning 3 Best Science Fiction Film, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Costumes. Pitt also won Best Supporting Actor at the 53rd Golden Globe Awards. Let's see. The genesis of 12 Monkeys came from executive producer Robert Cosberg, who had been a fan of the French short film La Jetée. La Jetée, excuse me. Cosberg persuaded that film's director Chris Marker to let him pitch the project to Universal Pictures, seeing it as a perfect basis for a full-length science fiction film. Universal agreed to purchase the remake rights and hired David and Janet Peoples to write the screenplay. Producer Charles Roven chose Terry Gilliam to direct because he believed the filmmaker's style was perfect for 12 Monkeys, non-linear storyline, and time travel subplot. Gillian had just abandoned a film adaptation of A Tale of Two Cities when he signed to direct 12 Monkeys, though Gilliam felt the script was too complex to take on. The film represents the second film for which Gilliam did not write or co-write the screenplay, although he prefers to direct his own scripts. He was captivated by People's intriguing and intelligent script. The story is disconcerting. It deals with time, madness, and a perception of what the world is or isn't. It is a study of madness and dreams, of death and rebirth, set in a world coming apart. Universal took longer than expected to approve 12 Monkeys, although Gillian had two stars, Willis and Pitt, and a firm budget of $29.9 million, low for a Hollywood science fiction film. Universal's production of Waterworld, which I talked about in the last episode, had resulted in various cost overruns. To get 12 Monkeys approved for production, Gillian persuaded Willis to lower his normal asking price. Because of Universal's strict production incentives and his history with the studio on Brazil, Gilliam received final cut privilege. The Writers Guild of America was skeptical of the inspired by credit for La Jetée, and Chris Marker. Gilliam said that he had not seen La Jetée when he made 12 Monkeys. Gilliam's initial casting choices were Nick Nolte as James Cole and Jeff Bridges as Jeffrey Goins. But Universal objected. Other actors were suggested for the roles, including Nicolas Cage and Tom Cruise, but Gilliam rejected the choices. Gilliam, who first met Bruce Willis while casting Jeff Bridges' role in The Fisher King, believed Willis evoked Cole's characterization as being somebody who is strong and dangerous, but also vulnerable. Gilliam later stated that he wasn't originally interested in casting Willis because of the actor's mouth. Gilliam cast Madeline Stowe as Dr. Catherine Rayleigh because he was impressed by her performance in Blink in 1994. The director first met Stowe when he was casting his abandoned film adaptation of A Tale of Two Cities. She has this incredible ethereal beauty, and she's incredibly intelligent. Gilliam said of Stowe, those two things rest easily with her, and the film needed those elements because it has to be romantic. Gilliam originally believed that Pitt was not right for the role of Jeffrey Goins, but the casting director convinced him otherwise. Pitt was cast for a comparatively small salary, as he was still relatively unknown at the time. By the time of 12 Monkeys released, Interview with the Vampire in 1984, alongside with Legends of the Fall and Seven, had been released. making Pitt an A-lister at an A-list actor, which drew greater attention to the film and boosted its box office standing. In Philadelphia, months before filming, Pitt spent weeks at Temple University's hospital visiting and studying the psychiatric ward to prepare for his role. Principal photography lasted from February 8th to May 6, 1985. Shooting on location in Philadelphia and Baltimore in winter was fraught with weather problems. weather problems. There were also technical glitches with the futuristic mechanical props because the film has a non-linear storyline. Continuity errors occurred, and some scenes had to be reshot. Gilliam also injured himself when he went horseback riding. Despite setbacks, the director managed to stay within the budget and was only a week behind his shooting schedule. It was tough. It was a tough shoot, acknowledged Jeffrey Beecroft, the film's production designer. There wasn't a lot of money or enough time. Terry is a perfectionist, but he was really adamant about not going over budget. He got crucified for Munchausen, and that still haunts him. Um, the filmmakers were not allowed access to sound stages, thus they had to find abandoned buildings or landmarks to use. The exteriors of the climatic airport scene were shot at the Baltimore Washington International Airport, while the interior scenes were shot at the Pennsylvania Convention Center, formerly Reading Terminal. Filming at the psychiatric hospital was done at the Eastern State Penitentiary and Girard College. Some shots took place in abandoned motels in Camden, New Jersey. 12 Monkeys was shot in the 1.85:1 format rather than anamorphic. Gilliam used the same filmmaking style as he had in Brazil, including the art direction and cinematography. The appearance of the interrogation room where Cole is being interviewed by the scientist was based on the work of Lebbeus Woods. These scenes were shot at 3 power stations. Gilliam intended to show Cole being interviewed through a multi-screen interrogation TV set because he felt the machinery evoked a nightmarish intervention of technology. You try to see the faces on the screens in front of you, but the real faces and voices are down there, and you have these tiny voices in your ear. To me, that's the world we live in, and the way we communicate these days through technical devices that pretend to be about communication but may not be. The art department made sure that the 2035 underground world only used pre 1996 technology to depict the bleakness of the future. Gillian Beecroft and set decorator Crispian Salas went to several flea markets and salvage warehouses looking for materials to decorate the sets. The majority of visual effects sequences were created by Peerless Camera Company, which Gillian founded in the late 1960s with with Kent Houston, the film's visual effects supervisor. Additional digital compositing was done by the mill, while Cinesite provided the film scanning services. Okay. All right, let's go to reception real quick. 12 Monkeys grossed $57.14 million in the United States and Canada and 111.69 million in other territories for a worldwide total of $168.83 million. The film held the #1 spot on box office charts for 2 weeks in January before dropping due to competition from Dusk Till Dawn, Mr. Holland's Opus, and Black Sheep. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 88% of 73 critics' reviews are positive. With an average rating of 7.6 out of 10, the website's consensus reads, the plot's a bit of a jumble, but excellent performances and mind-blowing plot twists make 12 Monkeys a kooky, effective experience. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 74 out of 100 based on 20 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B on an A+ to F scale. The film's startling depiction of the world in 2035, where human life has been driven underground by a 1990s viral outbreak that annihilated 99% of human life, may not always make sense. But 12 Monkeys rattles with insightful sound and fury, and its bleak visions are hard to shake. Roger Ebert found 12 Monkeys' depiction of the future similar to Blade Runner and Brazil. The film is a celebration of madness and doom, with a hero who tries to prevail against the chaos of his condition and is inadequate, Ebert wrote. The vision is a cold, dark, damp one, and even the romance between Willis and Stowe feels desperate rather than joyous. All of this is done very well, and the more you know about movies, especially the technical side, the more you are likely to admire it. And as entertainment, it appeals more to the mind than to the senses. Janet Maslin of the New York Times stated, this apocalyptic nightmare, a vigorous work of dark, surprise-filled science fiction, is much tougher and less fanciful than the director's films have often been. 12 Monkeys is fierce and disturbing, with a plot that skillfully resists following any familiar course. The film's hero fears that he's half crazy, and for 2 hours, Mr. Gilliam awfully keeps his audience feeling the same way. Destin Thompson of the Washington Post praised the art, direction, and set design. Willis and Pitt's performances, Gilliam's atmospherics, and an exhilarating momentum easily outweigh such trifling flaws in the script. Thompson wrote, Peter Travers from Rolling Stone magazine attributes the film's success to Gilliam's direction and Willis's performance. And an internet reviewer, James Bardinelli, believed the filmmakers had an intelligent and creative motive for the time travel subplot. Rather than being sent to change the past, James Cole is instead observing it to make a better future. Richard Corliss of Time magazine felt the film's time travel aspect and apocalyptic depiction of a bleak future were cliches. In its frantic mix of chaos, carnage, and zoo animals, 12 Monkeys is Jumanji for adults, Corliss wrote. Well, yeah. So there you go right there, man. Let's see. We're gonna go on to, hang on, man. Got some bad news for you gamers out there who have like the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 and stuff. Unfortunately, Sony is going to be discontinuing the physical media. So and you probably want to know why, right? Yeah. So we'll talk about that in the video game entertainment newsroom. Yes, as I was saying before, I got some bad news for you gamers out there, man, who has the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and stuff. Um, According to Digital Trends, Sony recently announced that physical game discs for the new PlayStation releases will end in January 2028, and the timing immediately raised questions. It's similar to what I talked about with Xbox. So, in case you're wondering what happened with Xbox, you can listen to episode 160. The decision came shortly after Rockstar reportedly generated more than $3 billion in revenue from pre-orders of GTA 6, including digital editions and code in a box physical copies. That led some critics and fans to wonder whether GTA 6's massive digital success had pushed Sony into making such a major call. A new report now suggests otherwise, according to ORF Salzburg, Sony's disc production site in Thalgau, Austria, is already being reshaped for a future with far fewer discs, which makes the PlayStation disc cut off look like something Sony had been preparing for well before GTA 6 became part of the conversation. That sounds like a wrong move to me, man. Yeah, so Sony's disc factory is moving on. The Talgal plant still produces around 600,000 discs per day, and PlayStation currently accounts for about half of that volume. Excuse me. Sony Digital Audio Disc Corporation president Dietmar Tanzer told ORF that PlayStation-related disc production is expected to fall sharply by 2028. That's 2 years from now, man. The plan is not to close the plant. Instead, Sony is retraining its 300 employees and shifting the facility toward optical micro lenses. The company has reportedly invested about 30 million euros in the new technology, which could be used in areas such as automotive, lighting, and projection systems. That suggests the PlayStation Disc cutoff is part of a transition Sony has been preparing for over several years. Digital ownership keeps getting weaker. The problem for players is that Sony's digital future does not feel especially reassuring. Physical games were never perfect, especially in an era of patches, downloads, and online checks. Still, this gave buyers something they could hold, lend, resell, collect, or preserve. Digital purchases are far more dependent on licensing deals and storefront decisions. Sony has already shown how fragile that can be. Some customers who bought movies through PlayStation have been told that hundreds of titles will be removed from their libraries because of licensing changes. Sony is also closing the PS3 and PS Vita storefronts, ending new purchases on older hardware. The PlayStation Disc era now has an end date. The future may be more convenient, but it gives players fewer guarantees about long-term ownership. All right, folks, to all you gamers out there, man, I wanna actually wrap this up before I wrap up the podcast recording with a question here. How do you feel about Xbox and PlayStation by Sony cutting the physical media off? How do you feel about that? Um, you can drop it in the comments. You can drop it in the comments right now whenever you get a chance. So there you go, right there, man. Like I said, man, the question is for the gamers out there who play video games. How do you feel about Xbox and PlayStation by Sony cutting off physical media as far as like the game discs? All right, so there you go, right there. All right. I think I'm gonna end it right here. Yeah, I think I'm gonna end it right here. Actually, hold on 1 second here. Then I'm gonna end it right here. Actually, so there you go. There you go. 10:44. Yeah, I'm about to wrap it up right here. So, 1 second here, folks. All right. Let me see. Um. All right, time for stream choices on the go. All right, let's do this. Okay, make sure you at home follow the Entertainment Review Show, Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast, which is on Bluesky Social, Facebook, Threads, and alongside with Instagram. The same goes for my other podcast shows that I do, which is on the same social media platforms. which includes my sports edition show, Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks podcast, which is my sports show. I actually did episode 123. I'll make sure you go check that out as well. And also my comedy Off the Meat Rack Chainz New York Avenue podcast as well. I should be returning to that either probably tomorrow or probably in mid next week, depending on how I feel. Probably after the game. It depends on how I feel. So yes, and you can also follow your host with the most, G Money Stacks 555 in Queens, New York, on Threads and alongside with Instagram. And also make sure you click on that subscribe button on the YouTube channel page of the entertainment YouTube channel of Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share the videos. Make sure you turn on notification alerts on when I will be going live in the upcoming episodes. And of course, before I forget though, if you missed any episodes whatsoever, please feel free to actually catch up on the YouTube channel page. All the episodes is there. So, and for those who like to go to the movies and stuff like that, don't let the film critics discourage you from watching the movie and all that other stuff and telling you what's woke and all that other stuff, man. Like, enough of that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Fuck the critics. I'm gonna just put it like that, though. And yeah, man, that's gonna do it for me, man. I'm your man, G Money Stacks, aka the Gregonator, your host with the most, and I'd like to say thank you to every single one of you for being patient with me as I slowly return to podcasting, even though my other laptop has been out of service for quite some time. I'm not sure when I'm going to get me a new laptop, so just bear with me as I try to figure out the job situation. And remember, the grind doesn't stop. Hard work pays off. If you want something, you have to work hard and earn it. It's not going to be given to you on a fucking silver platter. And also, find your niche and what you love to do creatively, not because of your parents, but follow your heart, do what you love to do, and be on your P's and Q's creatively, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. That gets you into your zone alongside with tunnel vision. And I will be back next time. And stay tuned for more new topics in the next episode. I appreciate every single one of y'all for taking the time to actually listen to me. And remember, question of the day to all the gamers out there with game systems like the PlayStations and the PlayStation 3s, 4s, 5s, and Xbox gamers. How do you feel about Xbox and Sony PlayStation game systems, including the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and stuff, phasing out physical media, including the game discs? Go to the comments on YouTube right now. Express yourself in the comments. I know a lot of people are basically outraged in regards to that. And yeah, jump in the comments, man. I'll probably put that up in the community tab, man. I'm gonna put it in the community tab as the question when I get off the air. So be safe out there. I hope y'all have your air conditioners set because there's going to be a heat wave next week. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be more humid weather and mugginess and stickiness going on. And make sure you drink a lot of water. Make sure you take care of yourselves. Be safe. And I hope to see you in the next episode. Peace and one love. I know certain people have expressed a lot of outrage, but I will put up a question in regards to Sony and Xbox eliminating game disc physical media. All right. After I get off the air. So I'm gonna see y'all next time. Peace and one love. Stay hydrated. Be careful out there. And in the words of Ken Stars, have a good night, everybody.